は僕をダメなやつと思う。鏡を見つめる僕を見下げているけど中には大きな力希望がある。 Maybe I'm a little young but you don't know what I become. Can't you see it in my face? A demon living in disguise, but you can see the killer in my eyes. I've got a look you can't escape. You can't escape. No one understood the world that I was making. Look me in the face and tell me I was faking. Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I become. Can't you see it in my face? A demon living in disguise, but you can see the killer in my eyes. I've got a look you can't escape. You think you've got my number figured out? A motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. Don't box I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer,
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody. Michael Hassler. Welcome, welcome. We are back to our regularly scheduled program. So it seems stream here. Yes, there's a stream here. Believe it or not. Some people might even say it's the stream. Mouselander, welcome. Dan Anonymously, hello. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. I hope everyone's taken some time, taking some time to chill out and process what happened last week. And I think like now we should probably get to work on what happened, right? There's a lot of discussions going around. Just get my sweater out of the way. There's a lot of discourse going around as to what happened, and I mean the reality is it's a lot of different things that happened, or in some cases things that didn't happen. So I guess we should probably start trying to kind of parse that out. For our sake, I think. Working out, reading books, and banning fascists, the usual. Sounds like a plan, honestly. Wolfglen, welcome. Wait, something happened last week? You mean it wasn't just a nightmare? No, unfortunately it was not. Unfortunately it was not. Yeah, that's right. Wakey, wakey, folks. It happened. It happened. Sadly, it's real life. Yep. That's V. Harkin. Welcome. 22% of Americans voted for Trump. Concerned that I will have to learn the Roman, this Roman salute. I mean, like it's certainly emboldening those types. Have you seen that? Like the day after the election, there was some very racist, like mass texts being sent out. Right after the election, not after Donald Trump was declared the winner. So yeah. If there are fascists running against neoliberals, people will choose the fascist. Neoliberalism caused this. I mean, quite frankly, this is going to be a discussion that's probably going to be around for quite a while, because I think that like a lot of it is coming also to terms with like admitting that the Democratic Party got this wrong, you know? And to be clear, I got this wrong, okay? To be clear, I got this wrong. Of course, we were operating with within the data that we have, and you know what? Um, as far as the polls go out, as far as the polls go, um, I mean, it stayed within that. It stayed within those couple points of margin of error, and like that's the thing, though, right? If you're facing as a Democratic candidate, if you're facing polls that are +1, +2, +3, that's not enough. That's not enough. Um, Maybe I believe the hype a little bit too much, but um, I was saying that if we're looking at polls that are +5, +5, then we were in business. But that never materialized. I think the highest polling she has was like almost +3 something, right? Three something points, which is well within the margin of error. Kamikaze, welcome. Hello, hello. It was clear the Democrats flubbed it. Yeah, some students in the LA Unified School District received this text about being picked up to go pick cotton. Yeah, no doubt. Echo Resto Dragon. That's what I'm talking about. The racist text. The polls were close the whole time. Yeah, they were. You still believe in the polls? Yeah, they were right. They were right. The polls had this at a couple points difference either way. That's what happened. The results speak for themselves. There was also massive voter suppression. Yeah, I mean, you could look at the actual like numbers of people that went out to vote. Yeah, it's not good. It's not great. The campaign failed to inspire voters. Trump didn't lose votes no matter what he did. Yeah, like that's the kind of thing that I was also mentioning a while ago while Biden was still running. Is that like no matter what, Trump's support was locked in, right? Like Trump's support was locked in. The people that were going to vote for Trump were going to vote for Trump. Like those people weren't going anywhere, right? And like people are comparing this to the 2020 election, and I don't think that's fair. I don't. I think that the 2020 election was different because we had historic turnout as a country. Turnout that didn't happen in what, like 100 years or something like that. The percentage of turnout, and that's not a fair comparison because it was a different election. I think a more comparable election was probably 2016, 2012 even. 2012 even. Our electricity came back on election day. Yeah, I believe you were telling me. Jeez, I'm glad you're okay. I thought Trump would lose people, but he didn't. He kept saying the craziest ish, and we're the only ones that cared. Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing, though, right? Like he wasn't gonna lose support. He even said it himself. He said it himself. I could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue, and I wouldn't lose any votes, and he was right. They still say the craziest ish, just mental gymnastics. My post this morning proved it. Yeah, 100%. I was looking at that. It's just honestly amazing. The journalist Greg Palast is gathering evidence that voter suppression is in the millions. I mean, I don't doubt it, but like, how much is it because of policy? and how much is it because the Democratic Party suppressed its own vote or suppressed its own base by not by not catering to the base. Like, how many people stayed home because they didn't want to support? They just didn't feel like coming out to vote for the Democratic Party. Does that make sense? The GOP definitely cheated. They always do. My friend, when I posted about Trump being a felon, President Barbara Teague, because that's a joke, that was a stunt. Most felons in the country are actual offenders, but how about we start with revamping the felony charges? Even I felt I was voting against Trump and not for Kamala. Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of people felt that way, and that's the problem with the Democratic Party. Both, but still, the Dems have to win much bigger than the Republicans do. Yeah, but that's because of the Electoral College. That's because of the Electoral College, right? Like, that kind of gives preferential treatment to the Republicans, and the Democratic Party has to the Democratic Party usually has to have a +5. Usually has to have a +5. To be in the clear. That's the joke. Those are stunt. Most felons in the country are actual offenders. How about we start with revamping the felony charges? Trump isn't a felon, just a joke. GOP has been working towards minority rule on many fronts. Yeah, no doubt about it. Voter suppression, voter roll purges, and provisional ballots. Yeah, no doubt about it. All of that. And like the thing is, with an election this close, it is beyond me how bad the Democratic Party fumbled this, right? There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the failures of the Democratic Party. Like, let me just kind of like roll back the clock here. The Democratic Party screwed this up from the beginning. Okay, I'm not sure if there was anything that obviously we're speaking in hindsight because the election is over. But I'm not sure. I'm not actually convinced that there was anything that could have happened that would have prevented this. That didn't involve the Democratic Party forcing Joe Biden to step down, have an open primary, have a robust open primary, and run on strong working class, running on a strong working class message with popular policies behind it. This is just another long-winded way of saying, like, you should have just ran like Bernie Sanders would have ran. A strong working class candidate who not only who not only speaks to the working class in rhetoric, but has the policy to back that up. It was a failure of neoliberalism. It's happening all over the world. Yeah, that's a good point. It was over when the Democrats had a close primary this year. Yeah, essentially that's kind of like the conclusion as to like where as to where the oranges of this failure point, this multi-failure point where that kind of like started to happen, and where that started, I think, is the decision, is the decision to run again. Is the decision to run again. That's where this all started to kind of break down, because like it didn't matter, right? Like at that point, it didn't matter who was there, right? It was too late. Anita Dunn told Biden to run for a second term. Anita Biden told to put Kamala forward so she could work on the campaign, and Anita Dunn effed up the whole campaign by muzzling walls and using Cheney. Part of the problem, I think, is that the left has been poor about getting its message across. Generally, journalism, advertising failed to get across. No, you're talking about like you're talking about the libs. You're talking about the Democratic Party. That's who screwed up. Okay. I think media outlets are also to blame. I mean, to a certain degree, yeah, sure. The messaging of the media, also, this normalization of Trump has been a problem. But this is a problem for years, I should say. The normalization of Trump, like, oh, it's just Trump doing, it's just Trump doing another crime, I guess, Nothing to see, nothing special here. It's just another Tuesday. Trump, being indicted for election tampering or whatever. Trump currently, or now, I believe that's kind of over. But at one point, he was facing 90-something charges. Beastie Mom, thank you for the follow. This is a PMC queen, Anita Dunn, fighting for her personal career and status and allowed to do so if that's normal. Yeah, it's another. That's a part of like the failure points, the multiple failure points of the Democratic Party, where just so many things went wrong here that some people think he's joking. Yeah, I know, but he's not, or we shouldn't think that he's joking. Anyways, Biden should not have run for a second term. Not sure if it would have been a different outcome, but it would have been nice to see. You know what? I think it would have been. I think it would have made a difference, honestly, because it's not just like, it's not just like, Biden showing the it's not just Biden like heading straight forward into a wall, but that only happened because he decided to run again. If we would have had a primary, an open primary from the get-go, who would have known? If Biden wasn't allowed to run again, I mean, who's to say that we would have had a different outcome? There's also a percentage of people who Googled if Joe Biden dropped out on election day. That's amazing. Could you explain how the Electoral College works? Because some folks just don't get it. So it's affirmative action for conservatives. Basically, the Electoral College, divides the states up, and each state has their own number of electors, and a candidate running for president needs to get 270 to win the Electoral College, which means he wins the presidency. And that is determined by how those electors are awarded based on the vote, usually. So this is another problem that Kamikaze has brought up. Like, man, this is seriously American idiot. This is not to be underestimated, right? What is the quote? Never underestimate stupid people in large numbers. Yeah, that's also part of it. That's also part of it. You know, you had Trump supporters um, saying that Trump actually saved abortion rights by giving it to the states. That's just something we have to contend with, folks. And we also have to contend with the fact that, like, this country is more right wing than we'd like to admit. Okay? This country is much more right wing than we'd like to admit. People actively chose this, okay? Eighth grade level America. The Electoral College was supposed to prevent populist candidates to be elected, and in the end, it did the exact opposite. Anyways, the point I was going with this whole conversation is that, yeah, we should probably spend some time dissecting what exactly happened here. And I know a lot of people have put up like different explanations, different like discourse has been going back and forth. But like the common theme here that I keep seeing is that simply the Democratic Party failed the working class, and the working class just decided to not show up for them. That's it. I think 22% is normal about authoritarian people. It's just that they are united and activated by the mass psychosis of a MAGA cult. The right wing wants to coexist with the left wing. Why does the left wing refuse to compromise? The right wing, I can assure you, does not want to coexist with the left wing. I can assure you that the right wing wants the left wing dead. Okay? I'm not exaggerating, by the way, when I say that. The right wing would like to destroy the left wing. That's and plus what the right wing stands for is something that like you just can't compromise with. Does that make sense? I'm not talking about like simple policy disagreements, okay? I'm talking about like I'm not compromising with people who don't believe in human rights. I'm not compromising with people who want to take away the right to bodily, who did take away the right to bodily autonomy. I'm not compromising with those people. Sorry, there's nothing to compromise there. Nancy, we need a strong Republican Party, Pelosi. Thanks. And you know, like, the thing is, like, what really freaking aggravates me about this whole thing is because, like, we weren't aware of this until after the fact, by the way. We were never told this, because I would have had a different tune if I had this information. But, Joe Biden apparently had internal polling information, internal polling data that showed him losing to Trump by over 400 electoral votes. And he didn't step down. And he did not step down. What rights do you believe we are compromising? The right to bodily autonomy. We did that. We compromised like that. It was done. It's done. The right to bodily autonomy does not exist fundamentally. It doesn't. And that was the right wing who did that. So no, I'm not compromising with those people. Okay? I'm just saying there's nothing for me to say to the right wing right now. Does that make sense? There's nothing to compromise here. The right wing wants fascism and all that comes with it, and I do not. The Dems failed because they are neoliberal capitalists, and that does not work for the people. The petite bourgeois has failed us again. Right, and that's the thing I was talking about. The Democrats, what they could have done is run a populist, working class candidate who not only spoke to the working class, spoke to them, not at them, and back that up with popular policy. That's what should have happened. But anyways, where I was going with this is that Joe Biden had internal polling showing that he was going to lose 400 by over 400 electoral votes. At that point, like, this is just sheer arrogance. Like, this is just sheer arrogance to stay at that point. How can a party fail if they don't vote? Less people voted this time around. Yeah, and whose fault is that? Right, you're absolutely right, Kamikaze. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers in comparison. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That's the people running the campaign, right? Michael Hassler, right? That's the people running the campaign. Their job is to make sure people go out and vote for them. There was that one law protecting fetuses from homicide. There's no such thing as like a fetus being homicided. Okay, if it is a baby, then it's homicide. Like, this is stupid. Get out of here. Get out of here. Come with better, like, arguments or something. I don't know. Just get out of here. Tim Walz was also a great candidate, and they kneecapped him. I mean, like, this was from the New York Times. Hold on. Let me bring this up. See if I can find it. This was from 2 days ago. This was talked about in Pod Save America, by the way. It's useless to blame everyone after the fact. Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of done, right? Like, there's nothing here. It's kind of done, but I think that it's important to kind of, like, dissect what happened. Right here. This was 2 days ago. If I had known this, I would have been singing a different tune. Pod Save America, Biden's internal polling showed that Trump was winning over 400 electoral votes. John Favreau, I can't pronounce his name, a host of the political podcast Pod Save America, said during Friday's episode that President Biden's internal polling showed that President-elect Trump would win 400 electoral votes. Then we find out that when the Biden campaign becomes a Harris campaign, that the Biden's campaign on internal polling at the time, when they were telling us he was the strongest candidate, it was showing that Trump was going to win over 400 electoral votes. This is just wild. They refused to acknowledge until very late that anyone could be upset about inflation, and they just kept telling us that his presidency was historic and it was the greatest economy ever. Like, this is just absurd. We need to plan for 2026. Cycle start in what, like 18 months? The Marvel guy? I don't know if he's Marvel. He's from Pod Save America. It's important to hate the people who raise fascism to protect their own careers and ego. Yeah, and like I think that one of like the one of the number one people here at the top of my list is Biden. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. One of the catalyst is Biden himself, right? Like refusing to step down, even though like this was a possibility, right? Like if this was even even a remote possibility, okay, the responsible thing would have been to step down immediately, to not even consider running for re-election, and give enough time for a robust primary to play out. That's what should have happened. But unfortunately, as SV Harkin points out, I guess it's too much to ask to put your ego aside for just a moment, and have and do what's right. And potentially, it's not a guarantee because we're playing what ifs. We're playing what ifs, but certainly the opportunity to try to affect a different outcome. Like I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, that that loss was baked in. It was baked in. We should have seen it coming because every time we have an election this close, it never favors the Democratic Party. And of course, like just kind of collecting my thoughts here. It's in hindsight, it looks pretty inevitable. NSC, thank you for the follow. I blame his closest aides who lied to Biden and kept the truth from him about Israel and Ukraine and the election, about all of it. Yeah, but like, I don't know. He knew about this. He was shown this internal information. Right, there's a great economy if you're a multimillionaire. He was privy to this information. Like, I'm not saying that just because like one or two polls showing Trump winning by like this massive this massive landslide, to take it as gospel. But if there was a chance that this could even be a remote possibility, the immediate response should have been like, yeah, dude, just step down and have a primary. Right, yes, he's an Obama speechwriter. Right, like this is the Pod Save America dude. Still a lib, and Bernie has been ranting, and he's 100% right now. Truth, what truth? The effect this was having on his election chances? Yeah, like he should have known. If this was even a remote possibility, he should have stepped down. Period.
Been about a week since election day, so I think it's time with
Bernie's in a rage, and he's freaking right. He went on MSNBC and did that one-on-one, and he was right. I think I even reposted his statement. It should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that the working class has abandoned them. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo, the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. Today, while the very rich are doing phenomenally well, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and we have more income and wealth inequality than ever before. Unbelievably, real inflation accounted for weekly wages for the average American worker are actually lower than they were 50 years ago. Today, despite an explosion in technology and worker productivity, many young people will still have a worse standard of living than their parents, and many of them worry that AI could take and robotics would take a bad situation for them would make a bad situation even worse. Today, despite spending far more per capita than other countries, we remain the only wealthy nation to not guarantee healthcare as a human right. And we pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We alone, among major countries, cannot even guarantee paid family leave and medical leave. Today, despite strong opposition from majority of Americans, we continue to spend billions funding the extremist Netanyahu government, governments all at war against the Palestinian people, which has led to horrific humanitarian disaster of mass malnutrition and the starvation of thousands of children. I've got a word for that. Senator. Will the big money interests and well-paid consultants who control the Democratic Party, learn any real lessons from this disastrous campaign? Probably not. Will they try to understand the pain and political alienation that tens of millions of Americans are experiencing? Do they have any idea as to how we can take on the increasingly powerful oligarchy, which has so much economic and political power? Probably not. In the coming weeks and months, those of us concerned about grassroots democracy and economic justice need to have some serious political discussions. Stay tuned. That was the official statement, and you know what? I think there's I think there's some truth to that. Saudi Arabia today called it a genocide. That's amazing. Biden's cognitive situation is probably manipulated by those careers hacks. Maybe. A fascist party running against a right-wing party is no choice at all. My suspicion is not much more than that right now, is that Harris' strategy is always calibrated to appeal to likely Democratic donors rather than likely voters, basic lessons in the evils of unrestrained political contributions. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, that may, you know, that's yeah. That's not a new problem, by the way. It's just that, like, it's just like now it's costing us everything. It's just now costing us everything. No, it's not. We need new problems. No, we need solutions, right? That's what we need. We need solutions, not new problems.
With all of the data that we have and some interesting charts that I've come across to finally explain what happened on Election Day, where the Harris campaign went wrong, and what to do in the future. I'm also making this as sort of a historical record because I want people to be able to look back 4 years, 10 years, 20 years from now and try and understand how the hell did Trump win this election. I'm going to help you understand just that. So let me start first with this chart that may be the most important chart you will see about the election. This was put together by John Byrne Murdoch of the Financial Times, showcasing every governing party facing election in a developed country this year lost vote share. The first time this has ever happened. So you see the US election there as the red dot. You could argue the Harris campaign actually fared better than some other countries or some of the incumbents in other countries, but global inflation was a serious issue, essentially leading to a lot of whoever was in power, regardless. It's not just, you know, we're talking parties that are conservative, parties that are liberal, all being thrown out because it was simply, hey, things are expensive, affordability is crazy. Whoever's in power right now, you're gone. Kamala Harris, if she was going to succeed in this campaign, had to...
Yeah, she had to distance herself from the Biden administration, period. Right? Like, if she was going to throw a Hail Mary, because already, like, the situation was already pretty screwed from the get-go. But if there was anything that, like, if there was something that, like, may have kind of thrown a wrench in the all but seemingly certain outcome, would have been to distance herself from the Biden administration completely. Like completely. It's all been voted for, and the populace and the media are all at fault. It wasn't a vote for political revolution, just one that didn't have Trump in its future. I wish I knew what that meant.
Truly separate herself from Joe Biden.
Right.
If Joe Biden had
And I mean, like, in every facet, she had to distance herself completely. Like, it really could have made the difference in an otherwise all but certain outcome.
not dropped out, he would be, near the bottom of these dots here. It would have been an even greater loss for him and the Democratic Party. Him dropping out allowed Harris to have a little bit of a boost, but it wasn't enough to take her over and actually win the election. She really had to separate herself. And when you're on The View saying things like, I can't think of a thing I would change.
I mean, like, they put Harris there because they didn't have a choice. Like, that was it. Biden dropped out too late, so there was nothing else to be done. She was the only one that had the access to the party, to the campaign infrastructure, and that's it. Secretly, people voted for Trump because they are too tired to fight a civil war. I mean, how do you thread that needle? I don't know. She should have been more aggressive. She should have been, like, aggressively distancing herself from the Biden administration. But, like, I don't know. Then post you can't guard. There's no arguing about what reality is. I'm sorry. There's no arguing what happened. What happened is people lost the right to bodily autonomy. There's no argument there. I'm not having this discussion. Biden's policy weren't essentially bad. Is she supposed to say this administration that I've been a part of for 4 years was completely effed up? No. She had to offer something different. That's it. She had to offer something more. Because even though, like, people, you need to understand, okay, this is like a part of the issue, and I'm just speaking broadly, okay? I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not just signaling you out. But, like, people need to understand that, like, people are hurting, okay? And you have to acknowledge that. People are hurting, and you have to acknowledge that. You're like, well, actually, Biden, it doesn't matter. Freaking listen to them and cater to them in a working class message, okay? Cater to them in a working class message. And she should have distanced herself. She should have been different. She should have separated herself from the Biden campaign, and on the things that he did F up, be okay with saying that. And the things that he really did screw up badly, then be okay with saying that that's going to happen, and here's what I'm going to do different. Say, yeah, Biden screwed up in whatever, X issue, and here's what I'm going to do different. Here's what I'm going to do different. Yes, but that's not the same as distancing herself from policies that were actually at least mildly effective at what they were trying to accomplish. The problem is that they weren't accomplishing all the right things. Right, and, like, they also, like, it's not just showing, like, numbers. It's not just showing, like, numbers on a paper, right? Like, people need to feel those results, and people broadly didn't. That's just a fact of life. People broadly didn't, and they were being offered more of the same, a continuation of the same. They were not happy with the same, and that's it. Here's what I'm going to do differently. Lose, unlike Biden. Anyway, she said, no, I'm not going to change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. And, like, right there, that's... I wouldn't do anything different. That's part of the problem. That's part of the multi-failure, multiple. That was part of the multiple points of failure that happened here. Anita Dunn was also there to protect Biden's legacy.
I can't think of a thing I would do differently than Joe Biden. You're going to lose the election. I understand. She's the VP. It's hard to do. Well, if you want to...
It's a trap question. What would you have done? What would you have done differently? I mean, say something, man. Say something to the freaking working class. It's not that difficult. Say something to the working class. Say like, you know what? I hear you, and I hear you. You're right. Here's what we're gonna do, and freaking offer something, man. Offer something, but she didn't. We knew what was on the plate. People didn't vote. Being confused as to why Trump is president is not simply blame Kamala or Dems. Did you vote? Yes, I did. And it's not. I'm not just saying like this is the only thing. I'm saying like a lot of points of failures happened, and I think that a lot of those just happened to be Democratic leadership. Okay. I'm not even blaming Kamala as much as I am Joe Biden. Like, if we're talking degrees of blame, I infinitely blame Joe Biden more for this than I would Kamala Harris. Does that make sense?
win the election, you had to do it, and you didn't do it enough, or really at all. So that gets to the next chart here over what happened. So Steven Semler here, to get his title, this is he tracks charts and policy, co-founder of SPRI, writing here, Biden approval rating after passing the American Rescue Plan at 57%, his highest of the entire term. Biden approval after most pandemic aid programs expired went down to 43%, and then Biden approval after all pandemic aid programs expired, 37%. That gets to the second most important chart of this election. Several key U.S. anti-poverty measures expired or were eliminated after 2021. All of these programs that people benefited from ended while Biden was president. He brought many of them in, but they ended while he was in government, while he was the president. So regardless of how many Republicans did or didn't vote for them, in the vast majority of cases, zero, regardless of whose fault it may have been, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, again, I still would say Joe Biden should have pressured them more, but regardless, people don't see that context.
Right, like we can't expect people to like understand that. They just see like, hey, I'm freaking hurting, and this is the administration. This is the administration doing it, so I'm either gonna vote against them or not come out at all. But it's not. But it's the voters who didn't vote. Like that indifference matters, even if it's mired in muddy waters of this political culture war and BS. Yeah, and whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? If in 2020 you had like one of the most historic turnouts that we've had, percentage-wise, whose job is it to make people come out? Whose job is it to incentivize people to engage with this? Yeah, Wolfland, that would have been significant. Man, she might have actually had a chance there. Like she would have we could be looking at a different outcome if she would have been pushing things like this. That chart makes it look like Biden shot himself in the foot. Because he did. Go big. If you lose to that, we know where the U.S. is at. Yep, that's true. Although, like, I mean, like, part of also the things that we have to contend with is like, personally, I think that this also kind of demonstrates like the country has moved, right? Because like not only like the people voted for this, man, tens of millions of people voted for this, and like, I think the dead giveaway was that survey showing that 47% of Americans would be okay with militarized camps for undocumented immigrants. Like, that should have been like a kind of like a key indicator. You know, obviously this is all hindsight. That like, hey man, you know, maybe this is we're dealing with a more right wing society than we think. People knew the craziness of Trump's presidency base, and they have known for years with real life experience. That wasn't a deal breaker. That's shameful. True. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I'm talking about. We have to accept the fact that, like, maybe we just live in a country where tens of millions of people that swayed an election to a far right government just wants that. Yeah, they want another 4-year ride. Like, yeah, like, and that's a thing that we have to contend with as well, right? Like, these people actively voted for this. Hey, Shayna, how's it going? Can't teach empathy. Learned that the hard way. Well, the libs went for the right's border talking points. Right, because the country, they were trying to, like, I don't know, somehow, like, dress themselves up as Republicans, but, like, people on the right don't want that ish. People on the right can just go to the real deal, right? Hey, Heat, how's it going? Excuse me, I was promised the fun half. That's funny. Less people voted for Trump this time. Not by a lot, and in comparison to 2020, in 2016, I mean, yeah. Come on, ADT, get on the roller coaster with me, but you gotta sit in the front seat. Woo! Oh, man, no thank you.
Vast majority of voters see, hey, things were better. Now they're worse. Who's in power? Joe Biden. Get him out. And
Yeah.
in this case, Joe Biden, the Democratic Party.
It's that simple. And like the fact that like you can't, like the Democratic Party failed to acknowledge this and address this like with literally anything remotely populist is embarrassing. And that's kind of what part of the problem here. And if the Democratic Party doesn't change, this is just going to keep happening, right? If there isn't a day of reckoning where all these consultants and Democratic leadership get replaced or yeeted out of the party, it's not going to change. It's just not. Well, then where was the education from the Democratic Party? Everywhere. Like, it didn't matter. That's kind of like the problem. It doesn't matter because these people aren't listening. These people aren't listening. A few hard to understand means tested tax cut promises. Do you think the Dems could win if they reject AIPAC? I mean, maybe that also played its part, but like in terms of this particular election, it wasn't it wasn't even the Greens that did this. It wasn't people just overwhelmingly didn't show up for the Dems for various reasons, and I think most of it had to do with the fact that like they were just looking out for they just saw their wallet, and that's it. If you voted for Trump, you will get what you voted for. Yes, that's true. Nick a Ripper. Hello, howdy. If they ran Bernie, they would have won. Maybe. Although it's kind of too late. It's kind of too late. It's kind of like hindsight, you know. I think Bernie would have been perfect in 2016. I think Bernie would have been perfect in 2016. And this would be the end of his second term. We would be looking at the end of Bernie's second term right now. That would have been the time. That would have been the time.
Get them out. So
it's not really hindsight. Everyone knows Biden had brain rot and Kamala was an idiot with no personality. I like hearing Bernie yelling again.
This was the result. Because you had here an election where lower income voters, whether it's people making under 50K or people making under 100K, vote.
We ain't talking, I'm calling ICE on family member stuff, right? No, I don't think that's what we're talking about. I'm talking about, like, you can't complain if you're getting stuff that you voted for, like, for example, if the tariffs come into play and now you're paying 30% more for something, like, dude, you voted for this. I mean, like, here's what I will say. I hope the consequences of the Trump presidency affect the people who voted for them directly and specifically, and that's about it. Because I don't think they're going to learn. I don't think they're going to learn or change their mind. They'll just blame whatever group they're told to blame. I don't think she's an idiot, especially when you compare it to Trump and Elon, but lacking charisma, touch. Yeah, not populist for sure. Yeah, and I think that kind of is the problem, right? Like, and I'm not saying just Kamala. I'm saying, like, the Democratic Party in general didn't run a populist message. They should have ran a populist working class message with real popular policies behind it, like Medicare for all, right? The tariffs would throw us in a recession. Yeah, it's yes. Mass deport. Like, if he actually got his way, because, like, again, I don't know how much of this is gonna play out, but, like, hypothetically, if he actually got its way, and began mass deportation, like plus the tariffs, the economy freaking craters right then and there. It's not about the figurehead, it's about the Democratic Party message or lack thereof. You can't blame individuals, the political system is broken. Yep, even affected and hurt, they're well meant to understand it's because of a common enemy. Right, whatever that common enemy is, right? Whatever they're told to be angry at, whether it be brown people, whether it be queer people, whatever, leftists, the radical socialist, communist Democrats who destroyed this country, they'll blame whoever they're told to blame. But what if the economy does really good? If he actually implements policies that actually do good for the economy for everybody, then we'll talk then. But not with what he's talking about. not the kind of stuff he's talking about. Does anyone else get the sense that after the initial shock, the left is getting energized as a result of this election? Yeah, I think so, and I think that's kind of like the point. That's kind of like, that's going to be the end of this entire, like, post-mortem analysis, right? It is to say, like, okay, let's understand what happened. Let's go through all of this. Let's parse out information. What happened in 2016, what happened in 2020, and what happened now. And yeah, let's go. Let's go. Let's stand up. Mass psychosis makes them addicted to the propaganda that protects their false reality. The only thing that will be good is the stock market until the drop. It's not mass deportation. Steve Miller's planning to put them on trains. Where are they going to deport them to? This is how Hitler started the genocide. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that, like, even if, like, again, this is just hypothetical. If they seriously tried to mass deportation, like, what, 11 million people? The freaking atrocities that will undoubtedly happen will be one for a dark chapter in the history books. So yeah, it's pretty freaking grim. Should that reality become true? Right, echoes of the 1930s. Right, where? Like, how? Because, like, that we can't just deport 11 million people, right? Like that's not going to happen. So what do you like? The other option starts to get really freaking dark, and when you have people like Stephen Miller, like you said, when you have people like this other guy who freaking was in his previous administration, what's this guy's name? I have it here. Haman. Yeah, it's pretty freaking disturbing. If they send him to immigration camps, yeah, Black Mirror shit. It's happened before.
Voted with Donald Trump in the majority. Harris won voters who made over 100K. And, their issue may have been state of democracy, worry about Trump, which, of course, is a real concern. These are things that I discussed before the election. The fact that Trump tried to steal the last one. That's not somebody you want anywhere near power. But if the state of your life is, hey, I can't afford anything, things got worse while Joe Biden was the president, because whether you want to blame inflation, whether it's all these programs ended.
Thank you for the follow.
Whatever the issue is, their lives got more expensive. And their issue was the economy. They voted with Donald Trump. Also, worth noting here, the issue of immigration. Why even the fact that Kamala Harris again and again pushed a right-wing message on immigration? Why even bother? You could have blazed your own trail, pushed a more progressive immigration proposal. But instead, no, we need more cops at the border. We need to deport more people.
They have no plans to deport them. They have no plans that will get that far. Immigration camps like Outreach. Sheesh. That is a dark. That is one of the darker outcomes here. I'm British, so forgive my ignorance in some stuff, but I saw Stephen Miller's speech for the first time today in Raleigh, and I was shocked and horrified. Yeah, it's kind of the proper reaction. Thank you for the follow, King of Kings. They didn't have cell phones with cameras in the 1930s. That's true.
You're not going to win against the ultimate demagogue. You might as well have your own message. This gets to the issue being turnout for Harris. That's her issue. The issue here isn't, she could have won over more Republicans. No, they're not going to vote for her. You win over people that you can actually get out to vote.
Yeah, like this is a thing that I've been saying for a while, even before, like, this whole debacle. You need people to get out there and vote, and if you can't get them to get out, if you can't motivate people, if you can't, you need to give people something to vote for, right? You need to give people something to vote for. It's that simple. There was someone who went to high school with Miller, and he said he was always a hated Nazi. I mean, yeah, it kind of tracks, right?
Vote if you appeal to them with your own message. And in some cases, look, she had some of those policies. Expanding Medicare to include long-term at-home care, a fantastic policy. It took a back seat to discussions around immigration and democracy. And to be fair, abortion rights, a very important issue. Harris won those voters, at least not to the degree that I think she should have.
And Gaza, inflation, parading Liz Cheney, not distancing yourself from the Biden campaign, not having a working class message, Biden staying in to begin with. I mean, like, the points of failure here are multiple. Do you think they're trying to bribe black business owners, alienate all the non-black, non-business owners? No, I think there's a lot more problems besides that in terms of her campaign.
It's wild to see the differences here, but maybe some people, I'm guessing these 25% were more conservative voters. Then again, I saw one clip. I'm never this will never be erased from my memory, where a Gen Z voter, a Gen Z woman, said she voted for Donald Trump because he protected abortion rights by bringing it back to the States.
Yeah, I literally just said that. Bribe what? Who what? With what money? Where?
So some people like that just have no hope with. But apart from those people, you know, she won the majority of voters that were most concerned about this for good reason. And
hate seeing ads? Here's how to get rid of them or get paid to see them. Do you know how much of the content you see on a daily basis are actually...
Nope.
Again, foreign policy.
12 Google.
Her foreign policy was almost indistinguishable, at least the discussions of it, in some cases, not all cases, but some cases, indistinguishable from Trump saying we're going to have the most lethal military. And of course, dancing around the issue of Gaza. By not properly taking that on, again, you lose a lot of those voters. Look at how Michigan voted. Rashida Tlaib overwhelmingly wins her district. Kamala Harris lost her district. These are population centers, a population center in Michigan, and you lose it because you're not willing to be honest about what's going on there. And, you know, to be the so-called law and order president or candidate, and she has a history of that.
Whoa, dude, come on. So, like, first of all, yeah, it seems a little suspect. Second of all, if that's true, who cares? Third of all, you know what? Yeah, I think you should bribe voters. I think you should do things for voters, and bribe them with forgivable loans, and policies that will actually benefit them. Jesus. So what they're talking about was a plan that apparently was being talked about October, with less than 1 month to the election, unveiling opportunity agenda for black men, which includes a proposal of forgivable loans of up to $20,000 for black entrepreneurs. Yeah, So it's what you're supposed to do to voters. You're supposed to like bribe them by offering policies like this. She also pledged to support federal marijuana legislation, a big step beyond the Biden administration's current one. Yeah, like you're supposed to do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I have zero problems with this, and this had nothing to do. That was a little bit weird. That was a little bit weird. Kamala should have done that as a policy, while Trump is going to make groceries less for everyone. Free beach day for everyone who votes Dems. There's pandering and then there's pandering. Yeah, but like, yeah, it's kind of your job as a politician who wants to win elections, right? You're supposed to pander. You're supposed to try to bribe voters with like whatever policy you want for them, right? Like if winning an election means like drafting up policies like Medicare for all, so be it. Like bribe all your voters. If winning an election is running on like, I don't know, economic stimulus, debt forgiveness, plans to support families by SNAP benefits, whatever, then so be it. Like if you want to call that a bribe, whatever, bribe all the freaking voters, man. That's your job, okay? Do we get popped though? Hey, Ree, how's it going? Welcome. One slice per person.
Try to act that way and not recognize international law and order was a clear failure here. But again, larger issues, we're looking at, the economy, and she lost that vote for all the reasons I showed you. Chris Murphy here writing, of the 20 highest median income states, Democrats won 18 of them. Of the 20 lowest median income states, Democrats won 3. Yes, race and gender play a big role in politics, but the hard truth is this: Democrats clearly aren't listening to the people we say we fight for. And that goes to issues like this. Missouri, deep red Missouri, passed an increase to minimum wage and required paid sick leave. That's a progressive policy passing in a state that voted for Trump. Alaska as well approved increasing minimum wage and paid sick leave. A state that voted for Trump voted in this progressive policy. Issues that Harris...
She didn't have vision because there was nothing here. The only thing that they did was they said they scrambled to try to get Joe Biden to drop out. He wouldn't drop out. When he finally did, it was too freaking late. They just ran her. And yeah, she developed some momentum in the beginning because people were like, well, maybe she's different. And then she wasn't. And he got spineless there for a while. Glad he's back to fighting. It's no use to shut up any longer. But isn't that what polls do? Like the way they are some things before the Trump nutter times. She didn't have much time to prepare, to be fair. Right. And again, I think a lot of the responsibility here, besides like the Democratic Party's leadership campaign, overhead, it's just Joe Biden himself. Yeah, I am speaking. I wouldn't change a thing. Right? It's Joe Biden himself that kind of acted as a anchor and decided that he was going to take the whole country with him. Because I guess ego.
Did not talk about on the campaign trail. There's one clip of her talking about minimum wage. One clip. It is wild. And you may wonder, okay, but then why would they vote for Trump? It's not that they're voting for Trump. It's that Harris isn't bringing out the people that she needs to vote.
Yeah, Trump's base isn't Trump's base is very, very secure. He doesn't really gain much in terms of his own base. It's been the same base. So that's not the issue. We know who the Trump base is. Those people are locked in.
Trump voters voted for Trump. Yes, she peeled off a lot. She peeled off people that she may have been able to get in some cases. But she would have brought out a lot more people. A lot of people in that lower income that would have voted for her if she had spoke to these issues in a more direct way and made it clear, as she did at the beginning of the campaign, discussing corporate price gouging.
Yeah, I can't imagine Biden's handler saying it was a good idea for him to stick around and make things so precarious. He called that one. Yeah, he literally, we were just going, I think it was right before you came in. We were going over this article just briefly, that Biden's he was told by internal polling or internal information that he was on course to lose to Trump for over 400 electoral votes. Yeah, there you go. He was on course to lose freaking bigly, okay? I actually don't think Obama's going to win, but hope and change, good, simple campaigns. She's a woman and a person of color, doesn't have a hate campaign or anything, or any simple campaign, so yeah, it's difficult. Proves my theory that his base is all authoritarian personalities, about 18%, but a bit higher in late-stage capitalism. I hate that his win falsely vindicates the two idiots. Trump will be hell-bent on revenge, and other streamers explain that their theory that Biden ran again because he believes he was the only one that could beat Trump, because he saw Hillary lose, and now Kamala losing will make him be like, see, I should have stayed in. Yeah, nah, he knew. That's the thing. You're right, Ree. He knew. He knew that he was on course to, crash into a freaking wall. And still chose to remain in the race after the fact. The base is a cult. Not sure how anyone, especially Dems, would think that they can bring back people in a cult via politics, right? Which is like, as Michael Hassler was pointing out earlier, like parading Liz Cheney around in some bizarre move to try to shift votes away from the right, as if people care about, as if like the right wing cares about that stuff. No, man. No, trying to be like more right wing on immigration to try to peel off people from the right was absolutely like it was just disastrous. Part of the reasons.
That was discussed in maybe her first, second speech, and then it barely touched on the rest of the campaign, at least in terms of what the campaign was focusing on. I'm sure it was mentioned here and there in a campaign speech, but in terms of what the messaging out there was, it was largely about the danger of Donald Trump, which is a real thing, but this is an economy where people are struggling, and you are not speaking enough to that in a serious way where you are really calling out corporate price gouging. So in lieu of that, Trump's excuse for it is, oh, immigration. Immigrants, that's why everyone's poor. When there's nothing there.
Right, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what? Trump, like, gave, the reason why he has the cult that he has is because, like, even though he's obviously not going to solve any of these problems, he gave an answer. He gave a answer. I saw a comic that describes reaching across the aisle. A person stretches their hand towards a Robin the zombie, shrugging. Let's hear him out, guys. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists. Yep. I just wish she called Trump a mofo like she's clearly almost did. Could have won it. As BS, the media and the Dems couldn't get across that. This is BS. We have no effective communication anymore. Yeah, and whose fault is that? You're right. That's another issue. Like, how is it that the right has such a perfectly manufactured communication bubble, right? Like all your Matt Walsh's, your the Daily Wire, which is huge, right? Like your all your right wing podcasts, right? I mean, like, yeah, it's true. Like that's also a problem that has to be worked on. You're right. Like, granted, a lot of these just have so much freaking money that they can do this, but like, man, the way that we just need to work, we just need to work also as left, as the left, to be better at that. So sorry, my father did landscaping for decades, and my husband that works as a cook at an Arabi restaurant took your job, brain. They're all burnt out.
But he at least provided an answer where Harris was not. That gets to the where to go from here. So, oh wait, no, that comes later. That gets to what the Harris campaign did wrong. As I've already discussed a lot of that. But another aspect of that is people like this. I want to be clear. It isn't just Tony West, but it's the willingness of the Democratic Party and the Harris campaign in particular here to take on these sorts of corporate advisors. So Tony West, Harris's brother-in-law, is corporate insider and campaign advisor. On leave as Uber's chief legal officer, West plays a pivotal role in the Harris presidential campaign. This piece was put out October 29th. So I want to be clear, this isn't even a hit piece. This is just a piece discussing, hey, this is Tony West and he's advising the campaign. This is who he is, what he's about. And, well, can you guess what Tony West, Uber's chief legal...
Amazing. People love to hate, though, don't they? Left are known for being artistic and comedy, but people want to hate more than hear what they feel is mainstream, patronizing, goody-goody ethos. But we have to kind of change that, right? Like, woke is a bad word now. Yeah, I mean, like, thankfully, the whole right-wing thing about, like, everything is woke, thankfully that kind of imploded because, like, It just did. Not even the right wing talks about wokeness that much anymore. But like, I see what you're saying. I'm woke AF. Yeah, we do kind of need to build our own apparatus to reach people. Libs and Dems were never countervalence. Whenever the countervalence force to the mass psychosis MAGA cult. Yeah, they will. Yeah, they provided no answers is a way of saying. Yeah, they provided no real answers. I think like I forget who said this, but like, they I was watching some commentators, and yeah, the left now the left is condemning wokeness for losing the election. No. Some people at MSNBC are saying that. Some people at MSNBC are saying that. So we're a bit behind with the right wing American bile, but now we're paying attention. Wokeness doesn't even exist as they describe it. Correct. It's all farce. Anyways, where I was going with this, I was watching a commentary on this whole thing, and like they made a mention of I'm gonna paraphrase like something to the effect of like the Democrats. One of the fundamental problems of the Democratic Party is that they're trying to tell or to convince a disgruntled base and disgruntled population that simultaneously that their pain is valid, that their anger with the system is valid, but now but also be happy with the fact that we're not going to change it. Does that make sense? Like they're trying to do this like this double this like almost double speak where they're trying to convince their electorate, constituents, their base that like, yeah, well, you need to vote for us, right? You're angry that things aren't changing, but somehow you're going to be happy with the things that we're doing by not changing the status quo. Like you're angry at the status quo, but like also we need to convince you that that you're going to be happy by nothing changing, right? Like they're essentially like willing that into existence, and people aren't having it, so they just simply don't. Turn out. They stay home.
Legal officer.
This is the part that pisses me off. I'm hoping we don't just do the same thing we did when Clinton lost.
Can you guess what he's about? He's about the interests of corporations. So I want to be clear before I get into this. Trump's inner circle, yes, of course. Also, all corporate interests and, family, all tied in his campaign, of course. The difference here being he's able to lie about why people have issues in their lives in terms of the economy. The Harris campaign, on the other hand, had started off touching on the right messaging, bringing in someone like Tim Walz, who passed with a one-seat majority in his state, passed an incredibly populist platform, including things like free breakfast lunch for kids. Things that you could have run on and discussed again and again and again was brought up, in the introduction of him and then never touched on again. Like how you bring somebody like Tim Walz into your campaign and then completely neuter him is insane to me. But it's because of advisors like Tony West, other corporate advisors like that. This is the reason the campaign failed. That gets to, who this guy is. Wes Prowney behind the scenes role in Harris' campaign raises questions about whether he is shaping her views on powerful corporate interests. Of course he did, including his own, as Harris's policies in the White House could significantly affect Uber and indirectly the value of his stock holdings. I'm even like, this is almost a defense of West here. I don't think he joined the campaign to be like, I'm going to help myself in Uber. It's the company that somebody like this keeps. When apparently he made over $40 million over the past 3 years, 40 million. When that is your life, when cocktail parties is your life, when you're around people that are incredibly wealthy, you have a certain worldview that others don't have. It's natural. It's human. It's human nature to simply understand what your surroundings are. Having someone like this to advise you on how to connect with 300 million people who don't have that worldview is insane. That gets to, some of his past here. He played a pivotal role in handling the fallout from the financial crisis, which the DOJ had let financial institutions off the hook by noting that, or by having no criminal charges laid against bank executives. So yes, while there are billions of dollars in penalties, again, these people.
I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around, SV Harkin. There's a lot of blame to go around. So we need left-wing disruptive politics. Yeah, like we need to be more loud, effectively, and we need to be better. We need to be better at organizing on the electoral level. We need to be better at organizing on the electoral level from local to state. At least start there.
Criminals on Wall
to make it to the federal
Street, and they got a slap on the wrist, and he was a part of that slap on the wrist. He's also at the forefront of the company's battles of Uber's battles against recognizing drivers as employees, which would have granted drivers minimum wage protections, healthcare, and sick leave. So again, giving you the worldview of who West is, fighting against working class interests. He also, during the campaign, drew out on his ties to Wall Street and Silicon Valley. Has also held private meetings with top executives, soliciting feedback on Harris's policy stances. Again, top private meetings or meetings with top executives. What is that worldview you are bringing to the campaign? How does that relate to the average person?
This is the coolest innovation of our lifetime. The world's first titanium nonstick pan. It's gonna blow your hair back.
He also spoke, this is again back in October, spoke at a General Counsels for Harris fundraiser, which was co-hosted by executives from Microsoft and Amazon, which, worth noting here, companies that facing antitrust scrutiny from one of the things that Biden did well, his FTC pick, Lena Khan. So, meetings like this, pushing back against one of the one of the handful of pro-working class things Biden did. I want to be clear that in terms of domestic working class policy, Biden was actually solid. It was the programs that ended where people felt that in their lives in a negative way. But in terms of the power of unions, that grew under Biden. Again, not in a way that it should, or in terms of what can be done, but still a move in the right direction in a way that you hadn't seen before. And picks like Lena Khan, fantastic. One of the few, again, pushing back on a positive thing that Biden did for people, undermining it completely. And then Mark Cuban, this idiot who was one of the major Harris surrogates out there, in media, he said, Tony West has been great. He not only has connections, he is smart and has been a great bridge with the business community. When you have billionaires like Mark Cuban giving you credit for being great, you made the wrong decision. These are all things that seem so obvious.
Yeah, I don't care about Mark Cuban's freaking opinions, to be honest.
This world where connections to corporations and lobbyists and CEOs is so normalized, to them it's like, oh, of course we're going to bring on this Uber executive. He must understand policy because he's so intelligent. He's a millionaire. He knows what's going on. How are you possibly connecting with average people with someone like that? That gets to where to go from here. Bernie Sanders has a great piece in the Boston Globe. I'll link to this below the video. I'm not going to read through all this, but I'll just grab a couple of things out of it. Democrats must choose the elites or the working class. The Democratic Party has to be very clear. No more dancing around corporations and neoliberalism and privatization. No more dancing around these.
Right, but like, who has the ears of the Democratic Party upper echelons? Right, like it's unfortunate that that it's the corporations. Sorry.
These issues. Be very clear. It is us or them. Us, the working class, or them, the elites. If that message is not made clear, elections will continue being this close. Because, again, Trump is providing an answer, even though he's not providing the correct answer. He's providing an answer to what people are feeling. Democrats will be in the minority in the Senate. This is a great point by Bernie here. Democrats will be in the minority in the Senate and probably the House. In the new Congress, they will still have the opportunity to bring forth a strong legislative agenda that addresses the needs of working families. If Republicans choose to vote those bills down, which of course they will, the American working class will learn quickly enough as to which party represents them and which party represents corporate greed. It isn't just about, as he mentions here, it isn't just about the Democratic Party taking on this sort of agenda. I'll mention some of these policies in a second here, but it's not just about taking on this agenda. It's also about being able.
Yeah, so I get what you're saying, King of Kings. In this case, it just means like the oligarchy. It just means the oligarchy, the wealthy, right? Like the people up top. To the right, it means like Jewish people. Okay, just to be clear, like to the right, when they talk about global elites or cabal of elites, they're talking about Jewish people. When we're talking in the context of like discussions about corporations, like what we mean is just like wealthy oligarchs. It's a placeholder or a synonym for wealthy oligarchs. Both parties represent corporate greed. That's true. Welcome, Cognizant.
To set a narrative. The Democratic Party has been so bad at setting their own narrative. They are always reacting to what Republicans are doing. They have to set their own.
It's just a placeholder for your chosen boogeyman. Right, but in this case, it's valid. Does that make sense? In this context, it's fair.
Narrative.
Like it's very clear who we mean by elites, right? We mean the upper echelons of the oligarchy, the plutocrats, the people who are so absurdly rich, like Elon Musk, like Jeff Bezos. It's not really, you have better words, use them. I mean, the oligarchs, right? Like if you want to just say oligarchs, we can just say that. It don't matter to me.
Put bills together, try and pass these things and make it very clear in media appearances across the board. Have a clear, coherent, consistent message. Whoever it is on TV discussing this. Hey, we tried to pass, for example, a raising the living wage, raising the minimum wage to a living wage, and they voted it down. We tried to protect senior citizens by increasing Social Security benefits, and the right voted it down. Make it very clear. Hey, we're trying to fight for this, and Republicans continue voting against your interests. This is the issue the Democrats have had. It's always been reacting to a narrative that the Republicans have set. Democrats have to set their own narrative. Now, a lot of these, I'll link this below the video if you.
And that the problem is they're also captured by corporations, so it kind of makes that difficult, right? Four of the biggest millionaires received billions after Trump won. It's not even just the oligarchs; it's the financial class, the wealthy class in general. And another way of putting it, the capitalist class, right? The people who protect, uphold, and serve capital.
Follow my channel, follow Bernie. I'm sure you're aware of many of these policies. It's much of what was in his platform in 2016, 2020. It's great stuff, incredibly popular policies. Again, you go down. I did a video, you can go and find it, from a few weeks ago, where it showcases the policies from Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And it asks people, hey, which policy here do you agree with? And it takes the names off of it. So people don't know if it's Kamala Harris's policy or Trump's policy. The vast majority of people sided with Kamala Harris in terms of her platform compared to Donald Trump. And again, to be clear, some of those policies didn't go anywhere near far enough. But the message was sent. Hey, these economic policies that lean more progressive, that I may not be campaigning on a lot, Kamala Harris barely mentioning some of this stuff, like expanding Medicare to include at-home long-term care, but very popular. The inability for the Democratic Party to have that consistent message throughout, not just in a
when it suits their needs. Otherwise, they eliminate jobs, right? Because like I'm not getting into this conversation. Like, listen, I'm not here to freaking debate. To debate this. You mean the people who create jobs? Not necessarily. I'm not going to get into this whole conversation. The guy who would pay you nothing if he could, right? Like, yeah, that's who we're talking about. Like the people who have the boots down. Who have the boots on all of your necks, including yours, because I guarantee that you are not a capitalist. Okay, another mom MTG. I'm hoping that stands for Magic the Gathering and not Marjorie Taylor Greene. But yeah, you are not a capitalist class. You are not an owner. So chances are, I mean, I guess it's possible that you're a business owner, but yeah, it was paid nothing and gotten away with it.
an election year. But when they're not in power, between elections, have a very consistent message throughout the year and throughout all states. There has to be a real investment in even deep red states on what this party is fighting for. Now, I'm under no illusion that this is going to happen overnight, because already there is disagreement from, between Democrats.
And just to be clear, hey, this is where we come in. Right? It's our job to keep pushing that message of working class politics. Magic the Gathering, I'm going to use that.
About what the issue is here. A lot of them are going to fight against this idea of changing the narrative, of actually battling the interests of billionaires and massive corporations as they have this entire time. They're going to continue trying to, put the interests of the elites ahead of the working class. But if there's going to be any success, any long-term staying power for the Democratic Party, they have to make the shift. Otherwise, there isn't going to be any sort of, not even just change for people's lives, but we're gonna keep seeing these elections. We're just back and forth, because it's gonna be, oh, this sucks. My life has sucked for the past 4 years. All right, let's try it. The other guys. All right, my life sucks the next 4 years, or the past 4 years. Let's try the other guy. It's gonna go back and forth.
Yeah, and who's winning at the end of the day, folks? Who is winning at the end of the day? Who benefits from this back and forth? And getting people to just focus on that. Meanwhile, the oligarchy, the capital class, continues to expand their wealth each and every time.
Forth and back and forth and back and forth until one party figures out how to actually help people and keep doing.
Yeah, people like Elon Musk, people like Theo, the billionaires, the capital class. Yeah, people, the head of Uber, exactly, Trump himself, like, these are all the people that benefit, right? Correct, drain the wealth from the economy.
That, as opposed to ending the programs in the middle of your term. All of this, it's wild to see all these sorts of charts now, because this election, while it seems surprising at the time that Trump could win again, it was totally predictable based on what had happened in other countries, based on the fact that Harris did not separate herself enough from Joe Biden, based on the fact that Joe Biden ended these popular policies that actually help people in the middle of his term. All of this Trump win was completely predictable. And the next one is also going to be completely predictable if the Democratic Party does not turn things around.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't hold my breath. Theo and Vance believe some weird stuff. Yeah, no kidding. I wouldn't hold my breath. I just call them orange. Which creates more jobs, building a building or renovating an existing business building to be residential, as long as it's not falling apart and condemned? The second one. Existing building to be to be residential. Second one, what do you think about Russia? I'm just from Russia, from the city of St. Petersburg. Like, what do I think about Russia? What about it? And yet you predicted that Harris would win. Hey, we all took an L that this election, okay? We all ended up with eggs on our face, okay? That's what Tommy Douglas' speech about Mouseland was all about. We all came away with egg on our face on that one, Heat, okay? Including me, okay? And by we all, I mean like a lot of political pundits. Some of you in chat actually called it correctly. And you know what? Yeah. I was wrong. There was a lot of opium going on. Yeah, including same. I was, I was correct. I was correct. Looking at what happened with Joe Biden, and then like once Joe Biden dropped out and the hopium began to flow, I just kind of like, I just kind of wrote off that hopium. That's why my name is Mouselander. Back and forth. Huh. I live in Chicago suburbs and get so mad when I drive by new construction a block away from vacant places for lease. Welcome to capitalism. Okay. We got a couple of things to go through of what we can expect from a second Trump presidency. Trump's win could lead companies to push up prices. Here's why. The long and short of it is tariffs, okay? Retailers rely heavily on imported products and manufacturing components so they can offer their customers a variety of products at affordable prices, said NRF Vice President of Supply Chain and Customs Policy, Jonathan Gold, said in a statement, a tariff is a tax paid by the U.S. importer, not a foreign country or the exporter. This tax ultimately comes out of consumers' pockets through high prices. So, for example, $40 toaster oven that would retail for $48 to $52 after the tariffs, while a $50 pair of running shoes would jump to $59 to $64, according to Industry Trade Group. A $2,000 mattress and box spring set would cost from $2,129 to $2,190. During President-elect Trump's first term, his administration imposed tariffs of up to 25% on no more than $360 billion in products in China. President Biden's White House kept most of those tariffs and added on to more goods, including Chinese electric cars and microchips. Now Trump said he wants to impose a 60% tax on goods from China, 10% to 20% levy on all of the $3 trillion in foreign goods and U.S. imports annually. Such sweeping tariffs would reignite inflation, as they would mostly be paid by U.S. consumers. The Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has warned, offering a widely viewed, shared by other economists on both sides of the political aisle. The long and short of it is, things are going to be more expensive, and inflation's going to be back if Trump decides to go full force with this. But this is actually a very realistic scenario. Trump has supported tariffs. Trump has supported tariffs since like the 80s. This is not new. And I suspect that this could be a very real policy that might be implemented. Trump taps former immigration official Thomas Homan as border czar. The president-elect, Donald Trump, has picked former acting Immigration and Customs Enforcement Director Thomas Homan as a border czar for the incoming administration. Trump's selection, the power to, you mean this, talking to Michael Hasser, never mind. Trump's selection of Human 62 for the post was widely expected. I've known Tom for a long time, and there's nobody better at policing and controlling our borders, Trump said as he announced Haman's new job on Truth Social. The Haman's duty will include overseeing the borders with Mexico and Canada, as well as U.S. coastline and airspace. Trump, who has promised mass deportations of undocumented immigrants, has said that he would also be part of Haman's portfolio. Tom Haman will be in charge of all deportations of illegal aliens back to the country of origin. In the second week in office in 2017, Trump appointed Haman as the acting director of ICE. In November of that year, Trump nominated him to be ICE's permanent director, but the Senate never acted on his nomination. Reignite load, explode inflation, and corporations was exacerbated by doing what they do. Yep. Haman played a key role in designing and carrying out Trump's highly controversial family separation policy, under which children crossing the southern border into the U.S. without legal permission were separated from their parents or other adults, so those people could be criminally prosecuted. The policy, sometimes referred to as zero tolerance, began in 2017 and ramped up into early 2018 before the administration backed away from it after a large number of Americans denounced it as inhumane. I said, hey, what's going on? In a speech at the Republican National Convention this summer to a crowd of delegates waving mass deportation now signs, Human was unvarnished. As a guy who spent 34 years deporting illegal aliens, I got a message to millions of illegal aliens that Joe Biden released into the country. In violation of federal law, you better start packing now. You're damn right, because you're going home. Nice. Our streamer is a singer. No, not quite. It is about Magic the Gathering. No, I suppose that's a good thing. Human is expected to be part of the White House staff and would not be subject to Senate confirmation. He would not have legal authority over the federal agencies involved in managing the border, so would have to direct their activities through others who have Senate confirmation or installed in those posts as through designations as acting officials or by recess appointments, which Trump loves to do. Haman officially retired from ICE in 2018 in a strange episode following the year Haman was returning as border czar, an announcement that took Haman by surprise. He told lawmakers that he never accepted a position, he never returned to the administration, but remained a vocal supporter of Trump, yada, yada, yada. I was a delegate in Minnesota at the end of the state convention.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88
So,
billion.
yeah, I mean, like, that's pretty chilling, knowing that this dude's gonna have, like, knowing that this dude is gonna have that kind of job, like, how freaking heartless, man. How freaking heartless. And chilling. And chilling. One thing I learned is we need more people representing people as delegates, as there are too many people in there representing big business. You know what? I freaking agree. You think it's a good thing to deport, like, whole families entirely? Okay, just kidding. Yeah, whew. You almost I'm in a very let's just say my trigger finger is itchy. Okay, so, like, let's just Whew. Let me take a step back here. Justice Democrats are looking for candidates, nominate someone. Yeah, but anyways, the point being, you know what? Another mom MTG. I freaking agree with this. I agree with this wholeheartedly. Yeah, my trigger finger is just a little bit too. It's a bit light today, so just got to take a step back. Millionaires cannot properly represent the needs of the working class. True.
You put on national security. Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Like, and this gives away. This gives it away, right? Like, these people are freaking cruel, man.
Of course there's. Families can be deported together.
Like, how disgusting is this? This guy's a BS artist. I saw this. Oh, well, he means he's for real. He's for real. Like, if he has the opportunity to do this, he will. Like, he literally made the policy that the child separation policy, like, being this cruel and being this big of a this ghoul, like that's just him. That's just who he is. How do you filter out the bad from the good? I don't understand. Obama loved him. I was a delegate for Republicans, but I have involved with both parties since 2006. Like, I don't understand. That makes no, like, that question makes no sense. Not everyone who crosses the border wants to do good. So if you commit a crime, then you should be treated like if I commit a crime, I'm going to jail. So, like, it's a crime. Like, I don't understand. Like, what is the point of bringing that up? If you come here and you commit a crime, you're going to jail. If I commit a crime, I'm going to jail. I don't understand. Like, we all think Nazis look like something out of black and white movies. They look just like this guy. Yeah, it's true. That's true. The look on his face says to me he wants motion sensing machine guns every 100 feet across the border. Banality of evil. This guy looks like he wants to sell you home insurance, right? And the home insurance being get on the train. Why do you wait to commit a crime? I thought the whole point of application for citizenship was to allow the government to do that filtering before the entering in the country. Okay, why would that change? It's always been the case. You always apply and go through an asylum process. Like, why is that going to change? You would have to go through an asylum process anyways. Like, this is a moot point. What are you trying to get at? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is a completely moot point. Because, like, I'm trying to take a step back, but, like, if you're gonna come with some nonsense, then, like, it's not gonna end well. It's not gonna end well, I'm gonna tell you that. Like, if we already acknowledge that there's already a process for this entire thing is, like, moot. Whatever, it's gonna be a BS answer. I'm probably expecting it. Because, like, what this guy's talking about... What this guy is talking about is disgusting and cruel. We're not talking about, like, well, what if... Like, dude, I don't care. He's not talking about, like, oh, well, what if they don't... Dude, he's talking about literally like just taking whole families and just like yeeting them out. There's not even like a reason whether or not said family members did anything wrong to begin with. What do you mean? Yeah, it's called it. It's going to be a BS answer. Try again. But targeted immigration affects cities like Minneapolis, and Omar got 75% of her vote in district last election. Last election, she got 90% of the vote. If they did a mass deportation of targeted districts, the Democrats would lose 21 seats. Well, if they deport legal citizens that they aim to denaturalize, then yeah, because like, yeah. This was probably a sea lion, honestly. This is probably a sea lion. They don't need to. They don't need them to be legal to count towards the delegates in the caucus because that's based off populace. You mean like in the primaries? Oh, okay. Anyways. Yeah, moving on. I felt like that person was a sea lion. Because this had nothing to do with like actually like the process, like the actual immigration process. Basically, like the argument is we should just deport them all because they could probably, possibly, maybe, you know, because they're brown people, they might possibly bring be a crime or bring a drug. He started the convo. I just went wrong. Yeah, no, you're good. We're just, anyways. The point being is that like, I reject that wholly, and I think that the point of that was to sea lion, because that person was probably just going to ask again a separate question. Like if I clarified, what do I mean? They probably would have asked another question. I specifically asked them what was the point of bringing that up, because that is moot. We're not talking about how the immigration process works. We're talking about a extremely cruel and disgusting ghoul. Basically, like just kind of like very glibly saying that like, of course we can do mass deportations. Without separating the families. We'll deport them too. Silly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just freaking disgusting, man. That was the whole point of that segment, of what we can expect for the second Trump presidency. We got one more article to go. They didn't answer a question, right? Because I feel like they probably didn't really want to answer that question. What is it? We were going nowhere fast with that, is my point. Anyways, Trump's re-election. How many families do you think were separated when they came here? A lot. This guy was proud of it. This guy was very proud of it. That was like his child policy. Like that was his brainchild. He was very happy about that. Trump's re-election casts a shadow over the start of global climate negotiations. Global climate talks today started in Baku, Azerbaijan, a major oil and gas producing country that borders Russia and Iran on the Caspian Sea. Cool. The annual meeting is a chance for the world leaders as well as scientists, activists, and corporate executives to hash out plans to rein in global warming and to prepare communities for threats that they already face from rising temperatures. But Donald Trump's return to the presidency in the U.S., the biggest historical contributor to greenhouse gas pollution heating the planet, raises questions about whether the country will continue to work on global climate initiatives. We're not. We're not going to continue to work on global climate initiatives. That's all but done. I mean, he's talked about how he feels with the about the climate crisis. Like, I think I posted it here on Twitter. Where is it? I might not have it on Twitter. Never mind. Anyways, he called it a hoax. And he said multiple times that he wants to drill baby drill. In fact, like we were just I was just watching a speech of Trump. I was just watching a speech where Trump was saying that he wants RFK Jr. to take care of the health side, but he doesn't want to touch. He doesn't want RFK Jr. to touch liquid gold. So basically, all but insinuating that any climate policies are just like it's done. It's done. When are you going to delete that app? Good question. Not common sense because they're right, but logically, wind power is interesting, but too many in one area changes the wind currents. I can assure you that's not like physically possible. Okay. That sounds kind of silly on its surface, right? I'm going back to my home planet, Eftis Rock. At the last year's conference in Dubai, negotiators struck a breakthrough agreement for countries to transition away from fossil fuels, the chief source of heat-trapping pollution. Trump has promised to boost fossil fuel production, and even before Trump reclaimed the White House, the United Nations warned that efforts to curb climate pollution are far off track. Global emissions rose to a new record in 2023, and scientists in the European Union say it's virtually certain that 2024 will be the hottest year on record. Me too. I'm hungry too. Is that for real? I can assure you that they can't do that, can you? Yeah, I can. That seems kind of silly. Like, why would you think that that's even possible? Do you know how many wind turbines we would need to shift wind currents on the planet? This is like saying cloud seeding can affect hurricanes. Yeah, we are getting into troll territory. This is absurd. That's like saying cloud seeding. Right. Pretty sure wind turns the turbines, not the other way around. Right. Like this is just so like no, wind turbines cannot affect wind currents. That's not how this works. Hello, hey, hi, howdy. Yes, after reading your direct message, I'm glad that you don't support mass deportations. Thank you for clarifying. Oh, look who's back. Yeah, they messaged that they do not agree with mass deportations. So thank you for agreeing with that. Just get Superman to blow them off course. Right, like this makes no sense. This makes no sense. To talk just like everyone else. Yeah, I think why don't you hang out here for a minute? I also voted for Kamala. Against that backdrop, money will be a focus on the UN Climate Summit in Azerbaijan, known as COP29. The world needs to spend huge sums to overhaul entire economies that still mostly run on fossil fuels and to deal with risks countries face from extreme weather. The needs are especially urgent in developing nations which bear little responsibility for global warming but already face crushing losses as the climate changes. Yet nowhere near enough is being spent by governments, corporations, or organizations like the World Bank or IMF, even as climate scientists say the clock for averting the worst threats of global warming ticked down. I remain very optimistic on the technology side, said Richard Lesser, global chair of Boston Consulting Group. The challenge is the timeline to do this is not set by us. Well, yeah, kind of is, isn't it? Here's what you need to know about the issues and stakes in the next 2 weeks of climate negotiations. Nearly 200 countries signed a treaty in 1992 known as the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. This agreement aims to keep human-caused greenhouse gas pollution from interfering with the Earth's climate. Countries meet every year to discuss how they're doing it. The talks are officially called Conference of Parties, or COPE. Since this is the 29th Conference of Parties, it's called COPE 29. At the end of 2015 COPE meeting, the world leaders signed the landmark Paris Agreement. It requires virtually every country to pledge how much planet warming pollution they'll cut and to update those plans every few years. The objective is to set limits to global warming well below 2 degrees Celsius compared to temperatures in the late 1800s, and ideally no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius in order to reduce the risk of escalating extreme weather disasters. Yeah, this is kind of key, right? Like it's the wording here. We're now seeing more and more 2 degrees Celsius, not 1.5, because remember 1.5 was the constant number that kept being pushed, and I think that's not possible anymore. I think it's done. I think it's too late. As you say, Heat. I think it's too late for the 1.5. Right now, the world is nowhere close to hitting that target. Donald Trump's victory is a big deal at the summit. He has called the climate change a hoax. He has also suggested that he will withdraw from the Paris Agreement like he did during his first term. But the president-elect has made very clear he won't wait 6 months to pull out of the Paris Agreement like he did last term. Cool. If the U.S. withdraws, the process takes a year, but the threat is already reshaping the diplomatic landscape. At the Baku summit, countries won't rely on U.S. leadership as they would have if Vice President Kamala Harris had won the election. With Trump's victory, I think people will be looking to other countries, other leaders to pick up the slack, particularly the European Union and China. Countries are due to submit new pledges to reduce emissions early next year, which are supposed to be more ambitious than their last ones. But first, they need to come up with a new plan to help developing nations move off fossil fuels and deal with the impacts of global warming. That's at the top of the agenda this year. Industrialized countries like the U.S. built their wealth from producing and using fossil fuels, and that's driven most of the planetary warming so far. Developing nations, on the other hand, have contributed far less pollution, but they're suffering disproportionate harm because of their smaller economies and geographic locations. So in 2009, industrialized countries set a goal to give developing nations $100 billion a year by 2020 to help them deal with climate change. In 2015, the countries extended that pledge to 2025. They also set a new goal that reflects the needs and priorities of developing countries before the old one expires. That's a new target to be negotiated at COP29. And of course, Trump being elected is going to upend all this, no doubt. Suggested that Fucker undid almost every single thing Obama did just out of spite. Agreed. That leaves the developing nations. The problem is wealthy countries were slow to deliver, naturally. In 2022, they finally made good on their promise, providing developing nations with a record $115.9 billion in financing to cut climate pollution and adapt to rising temperatures. That leaves developing nations in a bind. They need help, but whatever money is pledged will almost certainly be a fraction of what is needed. And they'll be relying on wealthy neighbors that have been unreliable. I think for me, success is when the money is actually delivered, said Vijay Ramachandran, Director of Energy and Development to the Breakthrough Institute. What we really want to see is an increase in resource to poor countries that will actually enable them to tackle the climate change. Instead, what we're seeing are these pronouncements. There's also a debate around the new loss and damage fund that was created last year to compensate vulnerable countries for harms they've already suffered from climate change. While some countries have made pledges, payments have yet to be sent out as countries debate how much the fund will be administered. So all this is to say, because we know how the COP meetings usually go. All this to say is the election of Donald Trump is going to upend a lot of this. And what about the voices of indigenous people? Gone. It doesn't matter. At least here in the United States, it doesn't matter. Trump doesn't care about any of that. Trump is drill, baby drill. And his priorities in terms of climate will be to pull out of the Paris Agreement, yeah. And that's going to have a lot of ramifications. Seriously, not just any country, the voices of indigenous people does matter. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So any progress is just done. Any progress is just done. Oil companies are going to get everything that they want. Trump is going to drill, baby drill. He's going to give them everything that they want. We're going to make we're going backwards. And in a time where implementing climate policies is important, it's just done, folks. It's a done deal. The situation is screwed. It's screwed. So that was the fun half where you guys eating snails or something during the fun half, eating nails. Oh man, I know. And unfortunately, it's gonna get bad. The governor of Colorado has already said her state will not play ball with Trump. Well, good, good. But Colorado, California, these kind of more blue wall states, blue wall or more blue friendly states are not. It's not enough. I liked how much he pushed the coal industry, but the industry shrank during his time in office. Yeah, maybe it's because we should be looking towards the future. And the coal industry is a dying industry, no matter what. Yeah. That's a good point. Anyways, the point being is that overall, on a federal level, the situation is screwed. The situation is screwed, and Trump being elected is going to put us back in a time where we need to take more aggressive action, and that's going to have consequences. That's going to have long-term consequences. Trump being in office and doing these things is going to have a lot of long-term consequences, and the generations that are coming after us are the ones that are going to pay for this. Minnesota was split state. Yeah, good thing we have states' rights. What do you think about nuclear power? I'll take it at this point. I'll take it. We are the only state where Trump did not gain a single point. We're the only state that's not afraid of him. He needs to watch Red Dawn because that's what's waiting for him here. Wolverines! Jesus. Man, that's a older movie. What, from the 80s, I think? Red Dawn? When did Red Dawn come out? Red Dawn. 1984. Look at that. Perhaps a good movie for a movie night. Yeah, like a mindless action movie. Mindless action movie could be a good idea. Just to shake it up. Agatha All Along first. Actually, that's a pretty good point. That's a very I've heard very good things and I need to watch it. Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, John Cornyn, and many others have been in office for more than 30 years. Yeah, and that's kind of a problem, right? It's more like it's not just that they've been in office for this long. It's just that all of those people that you've just named have like actively been a roadblock. It's not just that they've been in office; it's what they've been doing or lack thereof. Term limits would be amazing. I've actually bought the argument that the opposite. Did you say Last Action Hero? No. I just said. Oh, I haven't seen that movie, by the way. But anyways, that's another conversation. That's another debate that can be had. Anyways, it's past 7:30. It's time for me to It's time for me to get out of here. It's obnoxiously funny. I've waited all my life to have a reason to yell that. Alright, folks, let me get out of here. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Folks, if you enjoy the content, hit the follow button. It really does help us out. For those of you on the YouTube, there's been quite a few of you on the YouTube. Keep hitting the like button on the stream. Subscribe on the YouTube, as 256 of you have done. Folks, if you want to support the channel, there are many different ways. Consider checking out the merch store. Join the Discord, folks. We do movie events. Usually on Saturdays, we do movie events. So stay tuned and join the Discord if you want to participate on that. Folks, I've got another thing happening right now. Check out the new Substack. It's free. It's free to subscribe on the Substack. If you want to support the channel, do so by just hitting the subscribe and consider checking it out. We're going to do weekly articles. Usually I try to do it on Friday or Saturdays when I release them. Join the Discord if you want to be up to date on the Substack articles. It's free, so if you want to throw up a subscription, it really does help us out. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hesser, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. If you enjoy the content, don't forget, hit the follow button. We are here Monday through Thursday at about 5 p.m. Yeah, I need to do another command for Blue Sky. So follow me on Blue Sky as well. We're here Monday through Thursday at around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Spread the word here, folks. Bring a friend. Spread the word. Bring a friend. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I appreciate it. Thank you all. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow. See ya. Yellow King, thank you. And don't forget, folks, now's the time for us as left-leaning people to come together. And community is everything, folks. I appreciate you guys. I really do. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.